Princess Zora Quinn stood at the crystalline window of her palace chamber, gazing out at the twin moons of Zelther Prime. Her violet skin shimmered in the pale light, and her silver eyes held a depth of sorrow that seemed ancient beyond her 23 cycles. The royal healers had just delivered their verdict, and the weight of their words pressed upon her like the gravity of a dying star. "Your Highness," the head physician had said, his tentacles trembling with the difficulty of the pronouncement, "we have consulted every medical archive, every genetic specialist across the 7 systems. Your condition is unprecedented. The royal bloodline carries a genetic lock, one that has remained dormant for millennia. You cannot conceive offspring with any member of our species, or indeed, any species we have encountered in the known galaxy." Zara Quinn had received the news with the stoic grace expected of Zelthorian royalty, but now, alone in her chambers, she allowed herself to feel the full force of despair. She was the last of her line, the only child of the Emperor and Empress. Without an heir, the ancient dynasty that had ruled Zelther Prime for 10,000 years would end with her. The door chimed softly. "Enter," she called, composing herself. Her closest advisor, Kremoth, glided into the room. His expression was unusually animated for a Zelthorian. "Your Highness, there may be hope. The physicians discovered something in the ancient genetic archives." Zara Quinn turned, a flicker of desperate hope igniting in her chest. "Speak. The genetic lock in your DNA, it is not a defect. It is a design." Kremoth's words tumbled out in an excited rush. "Thousands of years ago, when our ancestors first began exploring the cosmos, they encoded this safeguard into the royal bloodline. It can only be unlocked by genetic material from a species they designated as the inheritors." "And who are these inheritors?" Zara Quinn asked, though something in her advisor's tone made her pulse quicken. "They are called humans, Your Highness. A species from a world they call Earth, in a distant arm of the galaxy. Our ancestors encountered them when they were still primitive, but they saw something in their genetic code, an adaptability, a resilience, a potential that fascinated our scientists. The genetic lock was deliberately designed to respond only to human DNA." Zara Quinn felt her world tilt. "Humans? But why would our ancestors do such a thing?" Kremoth pulled up a holographic display from his datapad. Ancient Zelthorian script glowed in the air between them. According to these records, they believed that the union of our 2 species would create offspring of unprecedented capability. They saw in humans a quality our people had lost, a fierce will to survive, an emotional depth that could complement our logic and longevity. But then the great isolation began, and contact with Earth was lost. The knowledge became myth, then forgotten entirely. "Where are these humans now?" Zara Quinn demanded. "Can we contact them? Earth has developed faster than anyone predicted. They have achieved interstellar capability. In fact," Kremoth hesitated, "there is a human diplomatic mission arriving at our space station tomorrow. The Terran Federation has been seeking to establish trade relations with Zelther Prime." The next day, Princess Zora Quinn found herself in the grand reception hall, surrounded by the pomp and ceremony of first contact with a new species. Her parents, the Emperor and Empress, sat on their thrones, their expressions carefully neutral as the human delegation entered. Zara Quinn's breath caught. She had studied the biological scans of humans, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of seeing them in person. They were smaller than Zelthorians, their skin tones ranging from pale cream to rich brown, their features startlingly diverse. But what struck her most was the energy they radiated, a vibrant, almost reckless vitality that seemed to fill the chamber. The leader of the delegation stepped forward. He was tall for a human, with dark skin and kind eyes that held both intelligence and warmth. "Your Majesties, Your Highness," he said, bowing in the human custom. "I am Ambassador Marcus Chun of the Terran Federation. It is an honor to stand before you." The formal introductions proceeded, trade agreements were discussed, cultural exchanges proposed. Throughout it all, Zara Quinn found her attention drawn to the ambassador. There was something about him, a quiet strength, a thoughtfulness in how he spoke and listened. When their eyes met, she felt a strange resonance, as if some part of her recognized him on a level deeper than consciousness. Over the following weeks, as negotiations continued, Zara Quinn found excuses to attend the diplomatic sessions. She told herself it was her duty as heir to understand these humans, to learn about this species her ancestors had valued so highly. But in truth, she was drawn to Marcus Chun in a way she couldn't explain. He seemed equally intrigued by her. During breaks in the negotiations, they would walk together in the palace gardens, discussing their respective worlds, their hopes and fears, the weight of responsibility they both carried. Marcus spoke of Earth's tumultuous history, its wars and peace, its art and music, its endless capacity for both destruction and creation. "We're a young species," he told her one evening as they stood beneath the alien constellations. "We make mistakes. We're impulsive, emotional, sometimes destructive. But we also have hope. We believe we can be better than we are. Your ancestors would say that's what makes you remarkable," Zaraquin said softly. They saw in humanity something worth preserving, worth cherishing. Marcus turned to her, his human eyes searching her face. "Why do I feel like there's something you're not telling me?" She had not meant to tell him. The knowledge of her condition, the genetic lock, the desperate hope that humans might hold the key to her future. It all seemed too personal, too vulnerable to share. But something in his gaze, in the genuine concern she saw there, broke through her royal reserve. She told him everything. Marcus listened without interrupting, his expression growing more serious as she spoke. When she finished, silence stretched between them, broken only by the gentle sound of the garden's bioluminescent fountains. "So," he said finally, "your ancestors designed your genetics to only be compatible with humans. That's incredible. And terrifying. And puts a lot of pressure on this conversation." Despite herself, Zaraquin laughed, a sound she hadn't made in weeks. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have told you. It's too much, too strange. You must think, I think," Marcus interrupted gently, "that I've been falling for you since the moment I saw you. I think that every conversation we've had has felt like coming home. I think that maybe, just maybe, your ancestors knew something about connections that transcend species and culture and time." Zaraquin's hearts, both of them, began to race. "Marcus, I'm not saying this because of your genetic lock or because of duty or politics," he continued, stepping closer. "I'm saying this because when I look at you, I see someone extraordinary, someone compassionate and brilliant and strong, someone I want to know for the rest of my life. Whether that leads to children or not doesn't matter. What matters is us." In the cycles that followed, their relationship deepened. The revelation of their growing affection caused a sensation across both Zelther Prime and Earth. Some saw it as a beautiful symbol of interspecies cooperation. Others viewed it with suspicion, questioning the motives on both sides. Political factions maneuvered, trying to use their union for advantage. But Marcus and Zaraquin paid little attention to the noise surrounding them. They were discovering each other, learning the nuances of their different biologies and cultures, finding common ground in their values and dreams. Marcus taught her about human poetry and music, about the concept of hope in the face of impossible odds. Zaraquin shared the ancient wisdom of Zelther, the long view that came from a species that lived for centuries, the beauty of patience and contemplation. But on the anniversary of their first meeting, Marcus proposed marriage in the human tradition, presenting her with a simple band of gold. "I know Zelthorians have their own bonding ceremonies," he said, "but I wanted to offer you this as well. A promise, from me to you, that I will stand by you no matter what comes." Their wedding was a fusion of two worlds, Zelthorian crystal ceremonies blended with human vows, ancient rituals given new life through cross-cultural understanding. Representatives from hundreds of worlds attended, witnessing what many were calling the most significant interspecies union in galactic history on their wedding night. As they stood together in their chambers, Zaraquin felt a strange sensation in her core. It was as if something long dormant was awakening, ancient genes responding to the presence of her human husband. The genetic lock her ancestors had designed was finally opening. "I can feel it," she whispered, wonder in her voice. "Marcus, I can feel the change happening." He held her close, his human warmth a contrast to her cooler Zelthorian skin. "Whatever happens, we face it together." Months later, the royal physicians confirmed what Zaraquin already knew in her hearts. She was pregnant, carrying the first human Zelthorian hybrid offspring in the galaxy. The news spread like fire across the stars. Scientists clamored to study the pregnancy. Politicians debated the implications, Philosophers pondered the meaning, but for Zaraquin and Marcus, the miracle was simpler and more profound. They were creating a new life, a bridge between worlds, a testament to what could be achieved when different peoples chose connection over isolation, love over fear. When their daughter was born, she had her mother's silver eyes and her father's warm smile. Her skin was a unique shade of lavender, and she possessed both the longevity of Zelthorians and the adaptability of humans. They named her Hope, a human name that captured everything their union represented. As Zaraquin held her daughter for the first time, Marcus at her side, she thought about her ancestors who had encoded this possibility into her very genes. They had seen far into the future, understanding that the salvation of their bloodline would require opening themselves to another species, accepting that strength came not from isolation but from unity. "Thank you," she whispered to the long-dead scientists and visionaries who had made this moment possible. "Thank you for believing in this future." Marcus squeezed her hand. "What are you thinking?" "That maybe this was always meant to be," she said, gazing down at their daughter. "Not just for us, but for our peoples. Maybe this is the beginning of something greater than either of us can imagine." As if in response, baby Hope opened her eyes, eyes that held the wisdom of ancient Zelther and the unbridled hope of humanity, and smiled. Outside the palace, two worlds celebrated, unaware that they were witnessing not just the birth of a child, but the birth of a new age. An age where genetic locks became keys to understanding, where ancient prophecies met modern science, where love proved to be the most powerful force in the galaxy. Princess Zaraquin had been told she could never bear children until she married a human. She had thought it a curse, a cruel limitation placed upon her by fate. But now, holding her daughter, she understood the truth. It had never been a limitation. It had been an invitation to growth, to change, to a future more beautiful than any of them could have imagined alone. And as the twin moons of Zelther Prime rose over the celebration, casting their gentle light on a family that bridged the stars, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, wondering what other impossibilities might yet become reality when different worlds chose to become one.